Esther. It is our Friday What to Watch for Real Stories. I am super excited to be here, and I hope you guys are having a great day. How's everyone doing? We're like 9 weeks into shelter in place, and hopefully everyone's doing okay. I'm super excited to bring in my friend Julie Keck to give us some tips of what to watch this weekend. And she just joined, so I'm going to do that in 1 second. But before I bring her in, I just want to remind everyone that this is May. This is our big fundraising month for Real Stories, and we would really appreciate your support during this month. We're very excited that we're over halfway to our goal, but we really need to make that goal. Unfortunately, like so many folks, we have been hit really hard by the COVID-19 crisis. We lost all of our spring revenue for our spring events that we had to cancel, and then our summer programs, which are our flagship programs, are still going to happen, but we have like really shrunk them down, so it's half the revenue we normally make. So if we want to continue on, we really need your help and support. So either donate, share our campaigns, or do all of those things and join in on any of our awesome online programming and spread the word about those, because we're really excited about all of those. And coming up next week, we have some ton of great stuff. So after I talk to Julie, I will tell you all about them. So thank you guys so much for joining us. I'm going to bring in Julie Keck, who is and I can't wait to have her join with us. There's like a second before hopefully it'll all go perfectly. Look, it's connecting. Hi!
Hi!
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so happy to see you.
Thank
I
you.
put lipstick on for you.
I put lipstick on for you.
Oh,
if I don't get kicked off of this Instagram Live, I have failed.
You're probably not going to get kicked out. Maybe you should set a different goal.
Okay.
I'm just saying. I don't know.
That's cool.
Okay. Yeah. So what do you got for us? What have you been watching?
Okay.
What do you want to watch? What do you want people to know about?
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I know it's exciting, right? To tell people like some of your favorite films, and
yeah,
it's hard to think of them sometimes.
It really is. I mean, and I do think I've created my own bubble. I mean, certainly I'm in the bubble of my own home. Yeah. With, so like the preferences of my partner and not, they like converge. So I came up with 10 titles, and I know we don't have time for that, but I have three.
What else are we gonna do? I mean, you're at a different time change, so maybe you're gonna have to go to bed, but I'm literally stuck in my house. I'm in the basement,
That's true. Okay, so here's what I got. The first thing that I think people should absolutely watch, if they have not yet, is this. And I'm drawing on a lot of series, and I hope that's cool. But
turns out there's no rules to this as well.
Perfect.
You can swear.
That's exactly what I want.
There's no time limits.
Awesome. So I definitely recommend that people watch the series Vida, which is so good. It's really gorgeous. It's on Stars, and I do tend to watch a lot of things on Netflix and Hulu, and then I wait until something I really want comes out on a certain
channel,
Apple TV version of that. I can get for that. So that's what we do with Stars with Vida. Season 3 just started, which is really good. And for people who haven't watched it yet, it's about these two Mexican-American sisters who have to go back home to their old neighborhood in LA after there's a family tragedy. And they've both been estranged from each other and from the place in which they grew up and their families. And so it's about them kind of finding each other again, but dealing with, gentrification and, immigration issues and just all the things that are actually happening in the neighborhood. And also it has very multi-layered representations of Latinx characters. I mean, there's a lot of discussion in here. Sometimes I think there are series made that are focused on marginalized characters, and it's almost like, because of who they're produced by, it's almost like it's some primer for white people. Like, here's what Black life is like, and we'll slow this down for you, and you won't,
and we'll still follow in these tropes and stereotypes, even with diversity.
There's that too. Vida will not do that. Vida will not slow down. because I don't know Spanish very well, and it will not slow down with references that I'm not familiar with. It and the creator Tanya Saracho is just adamant about the way in which her writer's room is created, who directs her series, who's in her series, and it's just amazing. And I feel, you know, I'm happy that I get to watch it. Yeah, so I love it. I mean, there's certainly the Latinx, you know, element. There's queerness and non-binary things mixed in there. Certainly family, you know, issues, which everyone can relate to. And it has two of my favorite, or it has one of my favorite, it has many actors that I like. One, though, is Roberta Colindrez, who was also in I Love Dick on Amazon Prime, and more recently on Mrs. America. And I really like that she is on that. I think she's really exciting. So yeah, so Vida. And you can watch, there are 2 seasons out, and then the third one is kind of being released week by week. And I will be very sad when this season, it's the final season, the season's over, I'll be really sad. But I know Tanya Saracho is making more work. So I would definitely watch her.
Okay. That's an awesome one. Yeah. Heidi Craig Cabra, who helped really was one of my partners for founding Real Stories, is on here, and she's the one who turned me on to Vida, and she just said Vida is so good. So
it's so good.
So good.
Yeah. And I mean, there's also, you know, sometimes on a show there's like a queer character and it's a certain type of queer representation. And this, like, it's not only a queer show, you know what I mean? This is a very multi-layered show, but within the queerness, there are many different forms of queerness and many different forms of gender.
Wait, are you telling me that queer people and people of different genders can exist on a spectrum?
Yeah.
I don't.
Not a monolith. Yes, we're not all Will or Jack from Will and Grace. Yeah, I mean it is.
I don't know. This is where we're going to get
beautifully.
Yeah.
Oh, good. No, that's what I wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's good. It's good. And I will also say, I believe that Tanya Saracho is also queer, and it matters to explore these things, like have the people involved in the show actually be from these communities, because then there's an authenticity. And there's a great article that I challenge everyone to go and find, where she talks about directing sex scenes in season 2, which is a really dicey thing anyway. You know, definitely you want to consider consent and safe practices and all of that. But because she's queer, she got to interact with her actors in this in a different way than other people, because it wasn't about like being stylized just so it looked good, but she also, because, you know, because of her own personal knowledge, like, is that something someone would actually do? Or it's like, is that even possible?
Yeah.
And I thought that was cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
All right. Next one.
What else? Okay, you started.
All right.
Set the bar really high with.
I know. The next one I have, and it is more broadly known, but I think Pose is a must-watch. Pose from FX. It's just so good. And I mean, I have to think you have to be living under a rock not to have heard about it yet, but it's just all about the Black and Latino LGBTQ ballroom scene from the 80s and early 90s. Yes, it deals with queerness. Yes, it deals with transness, but it's also dealing with HIV, issues with poverty, issues with, you know, coming out and losing family and chosen family. And it's just a really gorgeous show. It is, you know, created by Ryan Murphy, who is a white gay man, which is something that it definitely makes me look at it a little closer, like, okay, who did you have around you to make sure that this is, you know, researched and authentic? And there, you know, there is some controversy around that. However, it seems as though he's created his producing team and writing team to be representative of the communities that he is representing on screen. And notably, one of the actresses who's on the show, Angelica Ross, I believe also ended up producing and I think writing or directing on the show too, which I think is really exciting. And then also she was subsequently on another Ryan Murphy show and has her own development deals. But I do think that's a great, I think it's a great way, you know. So we talked about how there are sort of these gatekeepers in the
Right.
industry. And here's Ryan Murphy, like a very accomplished, you know, white gay man who's, you know, come up through the ranks. Um, and he's using, I think he's using his power and his privilege to lift up other people. And um, so I
Absolutely.
like that.
And I think he's also really like trying to pull down those gates, but he's done a lot of like that. I think it's called the 50-50 initiative to like bring
Yes.
more female directors. And, you know, and I think no matter, yes, he's a white male, but being gay, he's still marginalized. And I know a lot of people that
Yeah.
are high up in the, you know, film industry who feel like because they're a woman, because they're a person of color, even with like an incredible amount of success that they have, that it feels still very shaky to them to take a
Yeah.
stand. And
Yeah.
and somebody else just said that, you know, it was a great way to introduce younger people to the AIDS epidemic. We watched it as a family. I have an 11-year-old and 14-year-old, and like just plowed through it. And it was just, I mean, it was a really interesting show to watch with them. You know, so many of their, you know, their uncles are gay, and just understanding like what, like it doesn't feel like, I think when you're 14 to know that in our lifetime this, that the level of persecution. I mean, it still happens. I'm not saying it doesn't.
Yeah.
Like, I think for my daughter, she was just like, wait a second.
So, okay, this is really important to me.
These are great.
Um, I'll say a couple, and then I can just say like a list of things, a couple,
Yeah.
if you don't mind.
No.
But everything that I talked about is behind a paywall right now, and I think it's really important. You know, like not everyone, especially right now. I mean, there is a lot of password sharing, but not everyone has access to all the premium content. So there is a ton, like everything. The organization I work for, I work for OTV Studio. OTV has a platform with short form content by intersectional artists, and they just released their 5th cycle of work, and everything that you see on their website is completely free. I mean, it's completely free.
Is that just like otv.com or?
It is wearo.tv. wearo.tv, or if someone writes to me, I can point them in that direction. But it's beautiful, and it's all makers or just people in the city who like wanted to make something but like didn't know how to find the money to do it, or had never done it before, or wanted to find other people to do it with. They help make a lot of people's sort of early work. And so there are so many different media, so many different types of work on there, like not only stories and characters and themes, but like there are music videos, and there are full web series, and there are like experimental shorts, and there are so many cool things. I haven't even watched everything on it. I have work on it, which I love. That's how, I mean, I met Amar before he founded it because he interviewed me and my partner for his book, because we had made a lot of web series and we had helped develop a platform for queer content. And so we got to meet him then. And back then he mentioned what he was creating, and I was kind of like, that's really sweet. Like, I hope that works. And it has totally worked. I mean, there are hundreds of creators in their ecosystem, and they do so. I mean, yes, they help, you know, they give people money to help make stuff, but they also are like helping to mentor them, helping them to find equipment, and then they provide this amazing distribution platform, you know, instead of just tossing it up onto YouTube, which is also fine.
Yeah.
But so they have this community around there, and it's always good to, you know, even if you're making short content that you're just going to put out for free anyway, to create those partnerships so that someone else can be helping you to get the word out and elevate it and share their audience is really important. But then they also do these amazing, which now is crazy, but in-person events, you know, and they'll do premieres for their whole cycles, which now are on hold, obviously, but they're still doing a really great job of replicating that online, really joyfully, actually. So, but yeah, definitely go to OTV. I mean, there really is something for everybody. I have a couple of shows on there. One is just a queer.
Shows?
My show, the first show I put on there in their first cycle was called Full Out. It was a queer dance, it was a queer drama about a dancer who had been injured and then was trying to figure out if she could still continue her career. And she was in the closet, and, there's a lot of drama and on the OTV platform. And then a couple years later, I released on there a few episodes of a show I worked on called Fuck Yes, which is an adult sex ed series all focused on consent. And so it's all these fictional scenarios of all couples at this point, sort of in that moment before the moment, just checking in with each other and all the different ways that can happen, just because we never actually learned how to do that. Like, we talk about consent a lot, but like, I wasn't taught how to do that. Yeah. No one's ever been like, here's how you do it. So we wanted, there certainly are a lot of cautionary tales and a lot of really hard stories around consent. And we wanted to show, like, what is a positive interaction? What could that actually look like? And so I'm really proud of that. The episodes of Fuck Yes that are on OTV are focused on queer characters. And I really like those. But there's a whole bunch of stuff on OTV to kind of look around and play on. In terms of other things to watch, I actually, I just finished. Awesome. I'm glad you liked it. I didn't know I had all this to get out. So we just finished the second season of Dead to Me on Netflix, which is whole second season. Good. It's so good. And it is because it is a version of a female friendship in a very screwed up situation that I've never seen before. I mean, and not even with like two like lovey-dovey, like they're not hippie, people who hug each other all the time like you and I might do. Like, the Christina Applegate character is really bristly and the other one is like super hippy-dippy. But I don't know. I like how they interact with one another and how they show that they care about each other in the midst of this super screwed up everything.
It's super screwed up. But I also, like, what I love about it is, like, last week we did this whole thing around, like, how moms are never seen, like, as multidimensional characters.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And, like, those characters, the Christina Applegate, very many dimensions. And, personally, like, every human on the planet, I have dealt with grief, and it has not looked pretty. It's looked pretty much like how Christina Applegate makes it. Like, you could be pretty angry as well. And, we have to stop, like, pretending like women are just like, some are, and that's fine. I mean, I don't know if anyone's actually like that, but but like, a lot of times there's anger, and it's complicated, and there's things that you have to work out. Yes, this particular scenario is particularly dramatic, but it's so good.
Yeah, and it's created by Liz Feldman, who was a long time like TV person, but it's very significant. Like, yes, she's a woman and she's also queer, and it's not necessarily a queer focused show, because lo and behold, queer people can do other stuff too. I mean, we've been studying you. We've been studying you all our whole lifetimes. I think you can write on your shows. I have a feeling.
Yeah. I was like, wait, queer people exist on a spectrum. They can do other things. Yes. I mean, just like the knowledge that you're spewing right now.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. Yes. Okay. I can run through the other one super quick. So another one that I really like is Good Trouble, and it's a series. I think it's on Freeform, but I watch it on Hulu, or it might just be on Hulu. I'm getting notes from my partner producer. I watch it on Hulu. It is really good. It's a spinoff of a show that I didn't watch called The Fosters on ABC, which was about
very dramatic.
Yes. A queer female couple that were fostering or adopting, children across the racial spectrum. I did not watch it. I heard good things. But this show,
it was a big fan. So as I think I'm adopted mom, and we are a trans racial family, and so my daughter and I we love the show, and then like every week was like, and then a kid does something really stupid, and then
I mean, it was on ABC, so they're gonna.
I don't know. The format was like, like who's gonna try to lie to the moms, and one of whom is a police officer. So that's never worked. But yeah, like
Yeah.
so.
This is good though. I mean, this I
Wait,
think
Good
is
Trouble
very
is with
different.
the two of the daughters.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now
Who
I know. Okay.
move away from
Yeah,
home,
yeah,
and they're similar ages. And they both
yeah.
graduated. One's in tech, like IT, and one's a lawyer, or one wants to be a lawyer. And so they're embarking on their new careers, and they, live with a group of similarly aged Gen Z people.
Mm.
But it also has a whole, like all the other characters that they live with or work with, have their own individual lives. And for me, one thing I've actually seen very little of, in any like film or television, are bisexual men. And on this character, one of the characters who lives in the place they live is called the Coterie. Um, his name is escaping me right now, but he's just this gorgeous bisexual Latinx guy, and and it's just like, whoa, are we allowed to do that? Like, great, good,
Yeah,
and like
yeah,
that is wonderful.
yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I think sometimes bisexual female characters are in things, but that it's still, I don't know. Sometimes it's used to be titillating, and sometimes it's a tricky thing. And like the bisexual man in a television show is like, oh, totally unheard of. So I love that. And they also explore transness. One of the founders of Black Lives Matter is actually a writer on the show and a sometimes guest star. And there's a whole storyline around racial violence. And so it's just the whole thing is stellar. And on top of it, they do. Like slightly, they play with the linearity of the show, which is nice. So the structure of each episode is really, it's very different. So it's fun to watch in addition to exploring themes that I care about.
Awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have to check that out.
Yeah, you'll have
All
a
right, we got
couple
time for one
seasons.
more. You got one more, like.
Oh my God, one more.
Well, we can do this again. It turns out I
Good.
do this all the time, really. Yeah.
Awesome. If
Yeah.
we could just stay on here 24 hours a day,
Yeah.
that would be awesome.
Yeah,
You know,
I my basement from my 14-year-old and my 11-year-old.
what one do I do? I would say then the other one that I would have missed on my own, I would have dismissed it because it's a sitcom, is One Day at a Time. I was super late to that,
Yeah.
and I wasn't gonna, like, I like the people who are in it. I like Rita Moreno and like the nostalgia of it, but I would never have turned it on because I was like, oh, I don't watch sitcoms.
Yeah.
And then when I did, which I think was at my partner Jess's urging, it's one of the most, like, it's gorgeous. Like, it's really good. Like, yes, related to the social issues that they tackle, but also like it's just good storytelling, and also intergenerational storytelling. I mean, you have three generations living under the same roof, and they just talk about it openly all the time. And there are immigration issues, and she has, obviously there are the two younger kids, and so the girl who's a teenager, there's dealing with like her burgeoning sexuality, and like not just like who am I, but like how do I use this energy in a way that's not going to hurt me or someone else. So yes, I would watch that, and it's just delightful. And I feel like every episode makes me laugh out loud, and I'm kind of a stingy TV laugher, surprisingly.
Yeah.
But in like every third episode just straight up makes me cry in a really like good way.
Yeah, I was so happy when they were able to get a third season on Pop, whatever. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I think, and like a lot of the shows that you've been mentioning, which is fantastic, as a white woman who's raising a young kid of color, like it's so rare to get like, again, like a spectrum of, teenagers of color that are not just like a drug dealer or or just whatever stereotype, or like, the Latinx like princess. And Elena is just, because she's such a character, she's just so great. Like, and as a character, I mean, I know she's a character on a show, but like, I think also as a character, like it just creates like, it's just such a positive role model for my kiddo. And I just so appreciate that. So it's just, I mean, they're all like really interesting all the shows you mentioned have like a lot of them have very interesting teen girl characters as well, which I think is like, you know, always still hard to find in the, you know, like
That's true.
2020 where you're like, oh, they just cat fight or, you know, whatever stereotype. I'm not coming up with great ones.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. You're right. That is related to these things I'm talking about. And I'm drawn to watching things that like I need now, but also like I really could have used 20 years ago for sure.
I know.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that there's at least some, you know, I didn't even get to have we didn't even have a television growing up. So like, I don't know what I've really missed out on, but I know that like, it still is hard for, you know, the kids in my household and then the kids that we work with to find themselves reflected at all. So you've managed to pick all the good ones.
Good. Thank you. Have a good weekend.
Have a great weekend.